a little software component on the computer, and it's a connector. It's it's a little different than joining a domain because Windows, typically Windows Server domain, you have to have the professional to join a domain.
Okay, that's correct.
This is different because you're just installing a connector, so it's a little bit different. So, um, from a Windows computer, this is very easy to do, and it's just like Server '03 or Server '08. You're going to go on the browser for Internet Explorer on the workstation. You're going to go to http:// we have a server. We named our server, which you should never do, by the way. Don't name a server. So http:// server/connect, or server name, I'll say /connect.
There you go.
Yeah. I hate when people name the server.
Server 1, server 2.
Oh, okay. Quick aside. I thought this was funny. I had a client the other day. I was talking to him, and all of his servers' names, he had 5 servers. All the servers were last names, which were popular in the area that he was. So let's say Smith, Johnson, all of his servers were last names. Oh, that printer's on Johnson. Can we move it to that printer to Smith? I'm like, wait, are these people or computers? I'm not following you.
Oh my god. Can someone tell me why I cannot log into Johnson?
Right.
Johnson is down. What?
Yeah. Yeah. So it took me a minute to realize he was talking about servers and not people.
Johnson is turned on. What?
Yeah, he was saying Johnson can't print, or can we move the printer to Smith? I'm like, what are you talking about? So anyway, name your server. I don't like cutesy naming server names or Star Trek people. That just bugs me. Anyway, http:// server name/connect.
Okay.
And if we do this from a Windows computer, you're going to see a screen that says connect your computer to the server, and it's going to have a big arrow in the middle, download software for Windows. If you did it from a Mac, it would say download software for the Mac, I believe. Yeah. So it's a big button right in the middle. You can't miss it. It's pretty much the only thing on the screen. So you click that. You can save it if you wanted to and put it on USB drive. I don't know why you'd want to. It's easy enough to go to the website.
How big is it?
It's like
A few megs.
K. Yeah, no, not even a few megs. Maybe one, maybe.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bitty thing. But I don't see why you'd want to put it on a USB drive because if you're not on the network, you can't connect anyway. So one test of if you have connectivity is to go to this website because now you can talk to your server.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
you go to that, you click on the thing, you basically do your standard things. The first screen is the welcome or getting started. It's going to say, here's what it's going to do. It's going to connect your computer to the server. It's going to monitor the health of your computer. This is all done with a little agent. It's going to back up your computer daily, and it's going to manage your server using this computer. So it's got a server management component. You could, from any workstation where this is installed, you can manage the server.
If you had rights, right?
Right. You're right. You have to have, when you create the account on the server, it's got to be created as an administrator account.
Let me ask you this. You said manage the health of your PC. Does it manage hard drive space, CPU spiking out?
It'll do alerts, monitoring, standard performance monitoring alerts.
Okay.
And that we'll cover that one show because that is kind of useful, but be careful who you send these alerts to because you don't want to get 20 phone calls because such and such service. How many you looked at the event log before, and most of those look scary, but they're nothing. So I wouldn't give these reports to anybody.
No, because you definitely don't want the phone call. Is Johnson in trouble? Johnson is not in trouble. Smith is, but not Johnson.
Right. So you get that. You do next. It's going to ask you for your username and password. You can give your username and password. And now this does not have to be an admin user and password. If I create an account for Mary, Mary can put her username and password in this field and join it to the and use it to connect.
Okay, so anybody could.
Right. Um, yeah, you just give them the username and password, say, here you go, go to the site, run the wizard, and connect your computer. So and remember, this is designed for users to do this. So that's why they're making it kind of easy.
Okay.
Now, it's going to have the standard thing about choosing if you want to move your existing data and settings. So it'll move your profile over to your network profile if you wanted to migrate your profile. So it's got a little checkbox. Yes, move my data and settings to my new network user account. You can do it or not. It's up to you. The next screen is a computer description, which I don't like computer descriptions because they annoy me.
What?
You can leave it. Computer descriptions? I don't like them.
I love them. Auto's PC by the first plant on the left-hand side beside the water cooler.
But the problem is, these users set. Usually, the computer description is the same as computer name, and I always say, "How is that a description?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a description." Or more than likely, it's the description someone put 5 users ago, and the computer's been moved 10 times, and it makes no sense whatsoever. Like what you said next to the plant,
Yeah.
there may not be a plant in the building. The plants all died.
Uh,
Mary quit and took that plant with her. So, I don't like descriptions.
okay.
Oh, so, and that's it. Then you've got finish. And by default, it's got the option checked to open the dashboard to administer your server. You can uncheck that, or if you want to see what it looks like, leave it checked, and you'll get a little dashboard that pops up. Now, almost the same thing is on the Mac, but of course, it'll say download software for the Mac. The screens are a little different because they look Macish.
Okay.
The first thing you'll get a little differently is enter your server's name. So you got to have a server's address. So you have to have some more information. So it's going to want the server's address. Next screen it's going to want is it says identification of this computer. A little different than description. I'm sorry. It is different. This because it wants an identification. It'll ask for a description as well, but it wants an identification of the computer. So you can put whatever you want. Hopefully something that is meaningful. Continue. It's going to ask you for your username and password, your network username and password, and then it's going to ask for a computer description. And I can tell you what, people are going to put the same thing for identification and description. I don't know why they have both. Of course, the description can be more characters. The identification you had this typical naming convention of things you can and can't use. So, and then it's got the launch pad. It's called the launch pad instead of the dashboard on the Mac. So a little differently, but you can join them both, which is nice because I can tell you, I get calls almost every day now for Mac stuff.
Really?
Every day. And I'm dealing with small businesses. And I think every day for the past month, at least, I've got at least one person with a Mac issue. Or today alone, I had to deal with 2 people who bought new Macs, and I had to hook them to the network. Now, this makes it much easier because hooking a Mac to a O3 small business server is not as easy as it sounds.
Okay.
There's a basic way to do it, and there's a very in-depth way to do it, depending on what you want to accomplish with that Mac. And I won't get into that because that can be a nightmare. The first time I did it, it took me days because there was no documentation, and this was a long time ago, probably like in '04. It was and the Apple OS didn't support it. There was no documentation. They had all kind of problems. It's much easier now. So it's easier, but there are still steps. This connector, of course, makes it very, very simple to connect it.
You have mentioned that, so you're not logging onto a domain, is that correct?
Well, you are.
Okay.
You are. But it's not logging into a domain. You can use, it's almost like, you know how somebody, I don't know if you've done this, somebody goes and they buy a computer at Best Buy.
Right.
And it's got Windows XP Home on it.
Sure.
and you've got a domain. Of course, the short answer is it's not going to work. You can't join it, but really, it will work. I mean, you can always set the work group to the same thing as the domain. You can make the username the same, the network username, same as the local username, same password. You can map network drives using alternate credentials. I mean, you can make it work. So this is, and I have to go back and look at my notes. Not all, um, some things aren't supported if you don't have the professional. Remote access isn't going to work because you have no remote, you can't RDP into a Windows Home Edition computer. It's got to be pro. So not all things work if you don't have the home edition, but enough things work to where the small business who just wants basic file sharing, it will work.
Right, because you can make it behave.
Right.
I'm okay.
You create a network user account, so it'll work. It's not joining a domain per se. Yeah, I don't know if you use Windows Home Server, and I haven't used it that much, but it's like that. It's basically almost the same thing.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not joining. It's connecting. So little different terminology, and that's what's going to happen. These people are going to buy computers at Best Buy or Office Depot, and they just want it to work. They load the connector and done. Now, and that's it. We'll talk about for that right now.
Okay.
But I think this is a nice product. I think it hits a good market for people who need servers but don't want to necessarily pay the money. They've client backup. They've got remote access. This is a good product. So even for 5 users, 4 users, I mean, if what they want to do works with this, yeah, there are other ways to accomplish it. I could do a Windows 7 home group, but then you're not going to get client backup. You're not going to have remote access. You can have something else for remote access. So this has its benefits for sure. So keep it in mind. And it's very easy. Remember, the non-technical office manager can do this.
Yeah, man. And I'm still waiting where we can set options for actual file sharing.
Yeah. And now remember, there's no SQL server in this thing. There's no Exchange services in here. There is an Office 365 connector that was released, so you can manage your Office. If you use an Office 365, you can link that as an add-in, so it'll show up in the server dashboard
Okay.
for Office 365, which is nice. But I like hosted Exchange. I would not. I think I've said it. I don't really care for Gmail. I don't like the interface. I've used Outlook for over 10 years. I'm much more comfortable with Outlook than Gmail.
Well, you can use Google Apps to integrate with your Outlook, though. You know, because I do it. But I get what you're saying. If you're doing a small business, this is your preferred option, and just do it on a server.
Right. So in Office 365 hosted off-site, so of course there's a cost with that. You know, you're not going to get that. I think it's $6 a month for the email for hosted Exchange, and if you got 10 users, that's $60 a month. Now, if they went to the same 10 users with the Google Apps, you can do up to 10 for free. So again, there's a cost associated.
We are looking at a screenshot where we are comparing the options for SBS Essentials versus Standard, and for IT knowledge, for the Essentials is minimal. For Standard, understands strategic use of technology.
Right, which is funny because server SBS 2011, SBS 2003 was supposedly minimal as well. I guess they realized that it wasn't.
Then Standard comes with WSUS, which is Windows Software Update Services. SharePoint has changed, as Matt said, 2010 Service Pack 1. And Essentials does not. So
yeah, they want you to use the Google Office 365 for that.
gotcha. Cool, man.
and which is fine. I like host. We have I like clients on hosted exchange now that don't have any servers on site, so I'm able to provide them with